Hi, I'm Carly Weathers, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
The mix of salty sea air and burnt rubber. The big skies, high banks, and grandstands. The rumble in your chest. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. Honoring history and making it. At the biggest race of the year on the biggest stage of a lifetime. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in our Tuscaloosa studio for this Thursday edition of the show. We got our big board back thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They give us this smart board to go through everything in a very interactive way on the show, plus our headlines for today. Busy show as we really get you ready for Alabama women's basketball later tonight against Kentucky. Also take a look ahead to men's basketball against Texas, and some football thoughts as well. Speaking of women's basketball, we'll start the program with a one-on-one conversation with Carly Weathers, one of the few seniors on this roster for Alabama women's basketball. She talks about her 4 years here in Tuscaloosa and what's ahead for her. Then we'll visit with Blake Byler of BamaOnline as he covers Alabama men's basketball and football. Men's basketball, really his specialty. He'll break down last night's game against Vanderbilt and look ahead to Texas. Then we'll be joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide women's basketball team to round out the show. Christy Curry previews tonight, Alabama against Kentucky. Headlines around Crimson Tide athletics, starting with the men's basketball team last night. First loss in SEC play after the win against Kentucky to start conference play on Saturday at home. Went on the road to Vanderbilt and fell 96-90 in kind of a strange ball game with all the different fouls that were called in the game. Technical foul on Nate Oates. LeBaron Philon was unavailable with full body cramps for the final 16 minutes of the game. Didn't see Aiden Sherrill play. Again, just a strange night for the Crimson Tide, but kept it close at the end, only falling to Vanderbilt 96-90 as Vanderbilt remains unbeaten on the season. Now the Crimson Tide will try and bounce back coming up on Saturday, home against Texas. Tip-off from Coleman Coliseum set for 7 o'clock. Hope you can join us at 6 o'clock for the broadcast as Alabama remains in the top 15, ranked number 13 in the AP poll. For the Crimson Tide women's basketball team, a top 25 matchup coming tonight. Alabama ranked number 24 in the coaches poll, and tonight hosting the AP number 6 team, the Kentucky Wildcats at 6 p.m. Kentucky off to a 2-0 start in SEC play. Had that great buzzer beater last week to win in Baton Rouge against LSU by Tony Morgan. She and the Wildcats coming to Tuscaloosa for that tip-off. Our radio airtime will be 5:45. Make sure you arrive early to pick up a Big Al bobblehead presented by the Soup Store. We look forward to that for our fans as they come through the gates at Coleman Coliseum. Alabama still looking for its first ranked win of the year. Crimson Tide in really good shape overall this season at 15-1 going into tonight's matchup. And then no game for the Crimson Tide on Sunday this weekend, but rather on Monday night. It'll be an SEC Network primetime matchup for the Crimson Tide on the road at Missouri. 6 p.m. will be the tip-off from Mizzou Arena. Some other notes around Crimson Tide athletics. Looking at the football team, as we'll discuss with Blake Byler coming up in a few moments. Just so many different roster moves for Alabama. Players going in and out of the portal. Ty Simpson has declared for the NFL draft. Had a great video essay about his time at Alabama available on all of his social media platforms. Also really good messages from a variety of players, including Tim Keenan III, Caden Proctor, Jeremy Bernard, Jam Miller, LT Overton, Josh Cuevas. The list goes on and on and on. Different players declaring for the NFL draft after a very good career here in Tuscaloosa. And again, the transfer portal is still open for at least another week, so there will be more moving and shaking coming up with the roster, but we'll have a better idea on all of that once this month comes to a close. Also, Derek Nix, who was previously on the staff at Auburn University, he joins Alabama as the football wide receivers coach, taking the spot of Jamarcus Shepard, who moved on to Oregon State as the head coach of the Beavers. Also, swimming and diving is competing starting yesterday with their meet at Tennessee as they kick off their winter schedule. Looking forward to what's ahead for Alabama swimming and diving. But of course, tonight, the focus is women's basketball as Alabama will be at home against the Kentucky Wildcats, and one of the stars for the Crimson Tide this year, Carly Weathers. What a remarkable journey she has had from a small town in Loretto, Tennessee, all the way here to Tuscaloosa, and a great 4-year career for the Crimson Tide. She joins us to talk about that and what's ahead for her and Alabama this season. Roll Tide and welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Back with you today at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center in our podcast studio. This is Roger Hoover. Pleased to be joined by Carly Weathers of the Alabama women's basketball team. And Carly, roll tide. It's great to have you here as SEC play has started. How's everything going?
Yeah, it's going good. It's the gauntlet of the season, and so we're just really excited. We got to start obviously in South Carolina, and so what better way to ring in the new year and ring in SEC play than at South Carolina? So we're just looking forward to the next 14 games.
And then you had a great win after that against the Arkansas Razorbacks, and this is starting of SEC play of your senior year. Can you believe that?
No, I cannot. It's very surreal. I feel like I just got to the capstone, and so the fact that I'm fixing to finish my time here is absolutely unreal to me.
It is for me too. I remember connecting with you, talking, having an interview on this show years ago as a freshman. Just if you start to look back at when you first got here to Alabama and tried to play an on the floor with an SEC squad to where you are now, what do you say is kind of different between now and then?
I would just think kind of my mindset. I think when you come in as a freshman, it's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, you hear that it's the best conference in America, and I'm a firm believer in that. And so I just think that my approach to each and every day is a lot different. I'm just trying to get 1% better each and every day. And so I look more to doing that and just being a better person and better player than I was the day before. And I think that when I was coming in my freshman year, it was a little bit overwhelming. And so you couldn't just put everything in perspective. But now looking back, I'm just super blessed for the opportunities that I've gotten. And so I just try to appreciate those. And
now you're in a leadership role on this team. How special has that been?
Yeah, it's been super special. I get to do it alongside two other people in our leadership group as Essence Cody and Jessica Timmons. And it's just kind of crazy to me because, I mean, thinking back on my freshman year, I would have never thought that I would be in this position to be a leader on this team. And so I got to learn from some incredible people in Aaliyah Nye and Sarah Ashley Barker. And so just getting to build off of the legacy that they kind of left with us and just wanting to leave the place better than I found it. You know, I'm super thankful that Coach Curry's given me the opportunity to be a leader on our team.
You mentioned that leadership group. What kind of role does that group play, kind of first of all with the players and then with the coaching staff?
Yeah, we're kind of the in-between with the players and the coaches. We have to have the ability to find the pulse of our team and what's going on within our team. And we kind of go in between them. We have to represent both our teammates and the coaches. So that's kind of the role that we play, but we meet on various things, whether it be simply what are we going to have for post-game meal, or just, again, like what's happening with our team and where we can be better. And so Coach Curry she always tries to meet with us, and she just gives us the opportunity to just represent what our teammates are feeling.
That's really special. And for you got to know Coach Curry, her husband, Kelly Curry, as well during the recruiting process. Now you've got to play for them your entire career here at Alabama. Just what kind of leaders are they? How have they impacted you?
Yeah, they've impacted me for a lifetime. I'm a firm believer that Coach Christy Curry, is one of the absolute hardest workers that you'll ever come into contact with. She's just so special to me because, like I've mentioned a few times, the first conversation that we had when she offered me the scholarship, she was just very adamant about the fact that, you know, she believed that I would get other Power 5 offers, but she just wanted to make sure that I knew that she was the first one to offer me that scholarship. And so from then, I've just always felt like she's believed in me, as well as Coach Kelly Curry. Any film session that we have with him, he's always trying to just instill confidence into me. And so just having the opportunity to play for coaches who have been around the game for so long, it's just been so impactful for me because it's just allowed me to see the game in completely different ways than I didn't see coming in. And so they've been incredible for me. They've given me so many opportunities. I mean, they've allowed me to pursue a profession that's going to set me for life. And so they've just been very impactful in my life.
And we see you guys on offense look to the sideline really quick to get a signal from Kelly Curry. I mean, what kind of job does he do running this offense for you all and making it a fun system to play in?
Yeah, it's incredible. I love getting to talk to Coach Kelly about just the way that he sees the offense. We just have so many different ones, and, you know, we might only run 5 during a game, but we've probably got about 50 in the arsenal. And so he studies the game so hard, and anytime we go into a game when we're doing scout and stuff like that, we just feel very confident that the offensive game plan for the game is going to be solid because he just sees the game in a completely different way. And so he's incredible. I mean, the way that he sees offense, I just can't understand at times. And so we're super appreciative that he's on our sideline.
That's gotta be fun too. If you're watching an NBA game or something like that, you're going, wait a second, we run that same action. It really comes from a lot of the stuff he studied, right?
Yeah, for sure. He studies it all the time. So, yeah, again, we're just super thankful that he's ours.
Absolutely. And how about the fan support you've received? You probably even see it change from the time you got on campus to where we are now. We had a very loud, boisterous crowd against Arkansas this past week. I mean, how much does the fan atmosphere at Coleman mean to you?
Yeah, it means the world to me, because, you know, we feed off of that energy. And so we want to put a good product out there for them to watch, but also we are very encouraged when we see a lot of people in our stands. And, you know, I've been keeping up with this program since, I think I was in the 7th grade. And so I've been coming to and from games since then. And just to see how much it's grown since then is just incredible to me. And so I would just encourage people, like, the women's basketball game is growing so much. And, you know, we work hard each and every day. And we want to put that good product out there. And we just feed off of that energy. So we just appreciate any support that we can get.
A few years ago when we had you on the show, we talked about your recruiting journey to Alabama, but for fans that may be hearing it for the first time, you mentioned you've been keeping up with this program since you were a youngster in 7th grade. What was the first connection between you and Alabama?
So my first connection, I would say my first connection between me and the Currys, who I guess would be considered Alabama, was in the 5th grade. And so I played with their daughter, Kendall Curry, starting in the 5th grade. And then we kind of were not on the same team anymore, starting, I think, going into my 8th grade year. But my connection kind of started in middle school with the whole recruiting process at Alabama. But my connection with them started a long time before that. And so I've known these people since I've been in the 5th grade. And so they became family to me. So, that's a long time coming. So I can't thank the STARS program enough for the opportunity that they gave me to even interact with the Currys, and then the Currys giving me a chance to be in this position that I'm in.
And that's been a really good program, sending a lot of different players. We see names from that program all over the SEC, it seems like.
Yeah. Coach Doug Bush, he does a phenomenal job. He finds players from all over the Southeast, and he builds incredible teams. I have teammates at Mississippi State, or she was at Mississippi State. She's at Ole Miss now. I have a teammate that is playing at USC. I just have teammates all over. I think one's at Old Dominion. There's so many teammates that I've played with that have been successful at their respected schools. And so and obviously, Naomi Jones, she's on my team. And so we've been playing with each other for forever. And then you have Ace Austin, who was also part of the STARS program. And so Leah Brooks at one point was part of it. And so he does a phenomenal job of finding that talent, but then putting us in a position to achieve our dreams.
How meaningful was the STARS program as well, trying to go all across several different states, because you are from a small town in Loretto, Tennessee. So how much did that help you in your basketball journey?
Yeah, it completely changed the dynamic of how I needed to play. Growing up in a small town, obviously you don't play the biggest schools all the time. And so you're not necessarily put in a position to be found in those areas. But I played all over the country growing up. And so him just giving me that opportunity was so huge for me, because it's going to be hard to be found in Loretto, Tennessee, just a little small town. And so by him putting me in playing in Nike Nationals and playing in Chicago and playing all the way in Iowa, you're playing in front of all different types of coaches, but you're also playing against incredible players each and every time you go out and play. And so he just gave us the opportunity to flourish in what we needed to do.
That's outstanding. And you are from a small town, but you're also from one of the most athletic families I think I've ever heard about. Starting with your dad, of course, a longtime Major League Baseball pitcher, won a World Series. How much fun was it to grow up? What memories do you have of his baseball career growing up?
So I was smaller when he was playing baseball. So most of my memories are just in the kids' room in Cincinnati. But I just remember, my dad was, my family just in general was just such a tight-knit family. Because of my dad and all the places that he played, we were kind of constantly on the roads and traveling. And so it was just us 5 all the time. And so my best memories with them are just when he would pitch in night games and he'd come back and he'd bring us Domino's pizza and we'd sit there and we'd eat Domino's. But I just remember the impact that he had on my older brother. He would constantly have him in the dugout and in the locker rooms and stuff like that. And that's where kind of Ryan found his love for baseball as well. But It just kind of created a very competitive environment for us, just because, I mean, I got to see my dad compete at such a high level. And then that just turned into my brother competing at a high level and my desire to want to do that as well.
Now your sister's doing that as well, so that's
Yeah.
making it even a little busier for the family, I guess, keeping up with sports this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think my parents, I don't know how many miles they traveled in the past week, but they went from Chicago to South Carolina to, I think, Dayton, Tennessee, back to Tuscaloosa all in 1 week to watch both of us play. So I guess that's been eventful for them.
Yeah, which school is she at again?
Freed-Hardman.
Freed-Hardman. So are you
Yes.
keeping up with all those games as well? You guys can
Oh,
stay in good
absolutely.
contact?
Absolutely. Allie's my best friend. Like, out of all the people in my life, Allie's my girl. And so I was very hopeful that she would get to play college sports, just because I wanted to watch her play for 4 more years. And so I'm thankful for that.
That's really special. And again, your brother Ryan's a pitcher in the Miami Marlins organization. He's had a lot of great big league time as well. But you got to tell us about your mom and everything she was able to do in her career.
Yeah, my mom was, I mean, I get to go back and watch film with her sometimes, and so she was incredible. She got to play at Belmont University. She was an All-American there. But I think that the thing that stands out the most about her is she just constantly gave back to girls basketball around Loretta. She had an incredible career in and of herself, and she just never talked about that. But what she did was she poured into the next generation of girls. And because of that, we got to compete for state championships and everything else because of what she gave back to us. She's, in my opinion, one of the best defensive minds I've ever, I love talking defense with my mom. And I think that that's something that when she was at Belmont that they took a lot of pride in. And so she kind of just took that back to us. But yeah, I mean, her numbers speak for themselves and her accolades speak for themselves. But if you went up and talked to her, you would never know she did any of it. And so I think that just speaks volumes of who she is. Again, she's like my best friend, but she's also one of my favorite coaches that I've ever played for. She was real hard on me growing up because she had very high expectations for me. But because of that, she put me in a position to be where I am today. And so I'm thankful for that.
Do you take extra pride in your defense, knowing that she's kind of watching that part of your game so closely?
Yeah, for sure. Because she always told us growing up, when she would coach us, she's like, there's only 2 things you can really control in a basketball game, and that's your attitude and your effort. And so I take a lot of pride in that because I never want to leave the gym and her say, you just didn't give your best effort today. And so I think that that's something that can be controlled on the defensive end of the floor. You can always control how hard you go to the boards. You can always control how hard you're, denying and how hard you're doing those things. Sometimes shots just don't fall on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, you dictate a lot. And so, I just never want to leave the game and her just tell me, man, you didn't play very good defense today.
Well, you always play good defense. It seems like for Alabama, getting a lot of steals, a lot of blocks. That's also become part of your game the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, I just try to take a lot of pride into it because I'm just a firm believer that, it doesn't matter how many points you put up on your end of the floor. Like, if you're giving them up equal as much on the other end, you're going to be in a bad situation. And so I think that that's something that you can control. And that's something that I never want to leave feeling like I didn't give my best. Because, there's been plenty of games where I feel like I didn't give my best. And I would say that those are the games where I feel the least satisfied with my performance. Because, again, those are things that I can control. But yeah, I just always want to give that to my team because I always want them to know that I would run through a brick wall for them. And I think that that's one of the places that you can control that is on the defensive end of the floor.
Then on the offensive end of the floor, how have you evolved as a shooter throughout the years? Have you made many big changes, or is this pretty much the same kind of style you've had? How many hours does it take in the gym really on your own at times to make sure that's locked in?
Yeah, it takes tons of hours. There's no telling how many shots I've had to get up in the past 4 years and honestly my whole life. Again, it goes back to Kelly Curry, though. He's constantly able to come into the gym and work me out and things like that. And so I think that I think that is the biggest thing when it comes to your shot. Is one of the best things that you can do is trust your shot. And you don't develop that unless you're in the gym. And so I would say that obviously, too, the teammates that I've been surrounded with, they're just a bunch of gym rats. And so when you're surrounded with that, you have no other desire but to want to be in the gym and doing the same things. And so, I would just say constant hours put in the gym. I've always tried to be a shooter. I've always wanted to be a shooter, so I've always tried to work on my shot. And so that's just another thing that I take pride in is because, and I know last year especially, we had, Zay, Aaliyah, Essay, I wanted to take some pressure off them that, you weren't able to leave me open either to shoot the ball. And so it's kind of that too. Like, I want my teammates to trust that if they throw me the ball to shoot an open shot, that I knock it down. Well, that doesn't come if I don't put the hours in. And so that's kind of my mindset when I go into that.
Right now, you lead the Crimson Tide in 3-pointers. Didn't the last couple of years, but that's no fault of your own. You had to lead 9
Yeah.
in the team. I mean, getting to watch her and how she went about her individual work and then everything she did in the games. I mean, what a remarkable career she put together here.
Yeah, I mean, Aaliyah's phenomenal. I loved playing with Aaliyah. And, I mean, who wouldn't want to just throw one more pass to Aaliyah, who you can just go ahead and head down the other end of the floor because she's going to hit the shot. But she was one of the hardest workers that I've ever been around as well. She was putting in hours upon hours, just shooting like all the time. But she's also someone that I would go and work out with Kelly with. And so it pushed me because, like, I mean, let's be real, like, as a competitor, I don't want her hitting more shots than me in a workout. And so when she would start hitting shots, I mean, it's shot after shot after shot. I'm like, well, man, I got to hit shot after shot after shot. So she made me a better version of myself because whether she knew it or not, she was pushing me. But she did. She set the example. Like, if you want to be a good shooter, you got to put the work in. And that's what she did.
Certainly did. A great player along with Zay Green last year's team, like you mentioned. We got to get to Sarah Ashley Barker. And I think the world got to see her competitive nature in that 2 overtime game against Maryland. And even talking about her faith going to you in a very pivotal moment with 3 free throws coming up. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, so we came over to the bench, and, I mean, everybody knew the pressure that was about to be on those free throws. I mean, she had to hit all 3. And we come over to the bench, and she just grabs me, and she's like, dude, like, can you just pray for me for a second? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And so we stand there, and I think the huddle, I don't even know what was happening at this time, I'm going to be honest. Like, I think that the huddle was going on, and me and S.A. were kind of standing over to the side. And I just prayed. I was like, Lord, like, your will be done. Because, and I tried to make it known, like, in the prayer, like, whether she hits those free throws or whether she doesn't make those free throws, her worth does not lie in what's about to happen in these next few moments. And I think that just that moment speaks volumes to the relationship that S.A. and I had, because we would constantly go to Bible studies together. We constantly talk scripture together. That's a huge part of who both of us are. We are very huge in our faith, and we don't think that anything comes without the Lord's provision, and we don't think anything, like, we believe that the Lord is sovereign over all things and he sees us through everything. And so I think that moment was a build up from every second of when I got on campus and when SA got on campus. And so that was just super special to us, that one of the last moments that we had as teammates was spent in prayer together. And obviously a little bit of celebration when she hit those 3 free throws. But it just meant a whole lot to me that she would put that on me in that moment to want to pray over her, because that to me just spoke to the friendship and relationship that her and I had built.
And really special, too. I mean, she scores 4. She makes all 3 of those free throws to send the game to second overtime. Remarkable. I know a very tough loss, but for her, school record 45 points. And then she tells that story right immediately afterward. I imagine your phone was blowing up, too, just from people saying what a remarkable story of teammates and faith and working together.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's something that I have told my parents since I've been here is, when I leave here, I don't want my legacy to be, oh, she was the best shooter, she was the best basketball player, she's the best this. Like, I want people to know that, like, I love the Lord. And that is the impact that I want to have and the legacy that I want to build for the rest of my life. And with her sharing that just meant the world to me, because, we don't know who that was going to reach. And that's our job here, is to plant seeds. And so when she did that just meant the world to me, because I'm like, SA, like, we don't know who that's about to reach, and we don't know what that's going to lead to. And that goes so much further than any shot that we could hit. It goes so much further than, any big game that we could have. And I think that those are the moments that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'm not going to remember how many points that I had in certain games, but I'm going to remember how I treated people. I'm going to remember, the way that I lived my life. And that's just something that I want my legacy to be, is that, if any of my teammates or anybody reaches out to me about praying for them, speaking scripture to them, like anything, that I'm going to do that for them. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a Christian disguised as a basketball player. And that's just the legacy that I want to leave.
That's really outstanding. The game we're talking about, I know, had a tough ending. 2 overtime loss to Maryland ends the season last year in the NCAA tournament second round. Let's talk about a happy memory. When you look back at some of the wins you've had during your time here, what are the games that stand out?
I mean, can we not say LSU at home? Like, I think that was one of the most fun games I've ever played in my entire career. I think that game stands out to me the most just because, I mean, how do you not choose that one? Like, it was so intense. The crowd that we had was phenomenal. It was a big win for us. That one was nice, but I would have to say any time that we've beat, Vanderbilt or Tennessee, because I'm a Tennessee girl, those are big to me too. And so, I could say that all the wins were pretty awesome, but those speak the most to me.
Yeah, hopefully more coming this year
yes.
as we get ready to move forward. For you are a student athlete. The athlete part of it, I feel like we've covered. How about the student part of it? What's been your focus in the classroom and beyond?
Yeah, nursing. Just trying to pour into other people. That's kind of what I love about nursing. I try to be my best version of myself too in the classroom. I'm just the type of person, like, I want to give 100% in everything that I do. And so I'm trying not to just kind of get by. Like, I want to have A's in the classroom, because at the end of the day, like, you only get out of what you put into it. And so, I'm getting my BSN. I'm going to graduate in the spring with my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing to then become an RN. And that's been awesome. Like, if anybody wants and thinks about applying to the nursing school here, I would absolutely say do it. I think that there's some of the best people over there. They're a program that really fosters growth. Like, they want to see you flourish into the best human being that you can possibly be, while also keeping the standard of we're here to take care of people and meet them in their most vulnerable states, and just love on them.
We don't see a lot of student athletes go down the nursing path because the demands you have away with the clinicals and the practicums, everything that goes into it makes it pretty tough. Coach Curry has always been really proud of how you've balanced both things, but how tough has that been to make sure you have the proper balance between sports and the nursing degree?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty challenging. I can't just not plan out my day. Like, my day has to be planned before I wake up the next morning. It has really taught me, though, discipline, time management, and I think that those things are going to serve me for the rest of my life. It has been challenging, but it's been one of the best things of my life. I would say that I've grown so much as a person in the last 2 years since I started the nursing program. It's challenged me in so many different ways, but in both aspects, I've gotten to meet incredible people in the basketball world and incredible people in the nursing world. And so while it has been challenging, I would never change it for the world, because it has just allowed me to interact with so many incredible people. And it's honestly made me uncomfortable at times, a lot of times. And so it's taught me to be okay with being uncomfortable. And I think that that's a good skill to learn at a very young age.
Getting the degree in the spring, plans on being an RN. Do you have any plans to maybe stay involved with basketball when your playing days are done?
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do with basketball. One of the ways that I just feel like I'm feeling, I guess, led to is I think that where I grew up in Loretta, I think it's a hotbed for girls basketball there. I think that there are so many good players there, and I would love to go back, and whether it be helping coach with the high school team or just getting involved with like player development in that area and training and stuff like that. There's some girls that are on the middle school team there that I've gotten to work with, whether it be like just doing basketball lessons or at my camp or something like that. And I mean, I just think that the sky's the limit for them. And so I think that when I think about continuing on with basketball, I don't know where my playing's gonna lead me, but I do know that I cannot leave this game forever. And so I think that the way that I would like to stay in it for sure is to be involved with giving back to the next generation and just teaching them what I've learned.
Have the camps been fun? Is that part of the good things of NIL we probably don't spend enough time talking about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, like, we have to, and I try to keep this in perspective all the time, especially when we have young girls in our crowd, is like, we were at that point in that stage in life, like, in the past. And so we were those girls and we were those little kids that were sitting in the stands wanting to be in the positions that I'm getting to be in right now. And so with the camps, it even more puts that in perspective for me, because it's like, man, I would have killed to like been playing with a college player or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, if I would have killed to do that, I gotta be good for these people. Like, I gotta set a good example for these people, because I do not want them walking away thinking, I just don't know about this basketball thing. Like, I want them to leave there thinking, I love basketball. Like, I could do this for the rest of my life. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what I want to do. I want to inspire the next generation of girls to want to be in the same position that I am. And I think that it's very important to me when I go back and do camps in Loretta to just inspire them to know that, like, you can be a girl from a really small town and make it and play in the best conference in America. Like, that is totally doable. And so I take a lot of pride in that, because I want those girls to feel like they're not stuck in Loretta forever. They can do what they have, like, their dreams and aspirations are, because I was once that little girl too that had those dreams. And so all the time, like, basketball just puts a lot of things in perspective for me. And that, I think that would be one of the things at the top of my list, is that I just have to do a good job of inspiring the next generation, because there was a player that was before me that inspired me. And so I have to do that for them.
You've done that. Great work done by you, both in your hometown, here in Alabama, and beyond. Carly Weathers, just thank you for the time you've given us here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. All the best. Hopefully more wins against Tennessee, Vandy, Auburn, LSU, all of them coming up. Let's
yes.
go. We're looking forward to a great SEC season, but thank you for your time again. Roll Tide.
Well, thank you for having me. Roll Tide.
Hi, my name is Leonard Jemison. You're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This isn't just a race, it's the race. 500 miles of glory, a million memories, one place. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
Appreciate our time with Carly Weathers. Again, we're going to have men's and women's basketball players all throughout the next few weeks here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, with our interviews recorded at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center at Saban Field. Coming up, we will talk with Blake Byler, who covers Alabama football and men's basketball for BamaOnline, as he'll break down last night's game against Vandy, plus look ahead to what's coming up for Alabama in football as the portal era is up and running. Very busy time for Crimson Athletics, and we break it down with Blake.
Blake, I thought maybe we'd talk to you on this Thursday in the wake of an Alabama win at Vanderbilt, but unfortunately, Alabama falls last night for the first time in SEC play to the Commodores. Just first of all, what do you make for what was kind of a strange night in Nashville for the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it was a strange night. Absolutely. I think the first thing you have to go to when thinking about this game is just kind of the way it was officiated. There were 62 total fouls called in this game, which is the most in any Division I basketball game this season, which is pretty wild to kind of say out loud. I think it was always going to be tough. I mean, that was the first top 15 game in Memorial Gym for Vandy since the 70s. So it had been over 50 years. They were amped up and ready to go. The crowd was great. I wasn't at the game, but you could tell through the TV just how amped they were for that game. I think it was a tough start for Alabama. They came out, didn't have the energy on the road that Vanderbilt came out with, and kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit early. But then in the second half, it really devolved into a free throw shooting contest for much of it. You had fouls being called at high rates on both ends, made it really hard to get a rhythm going. And there were just really a lot of things that worked against Alabama in this game. You came in, Aiden Sherrill was a game time decision. He wasn't able to go, so that hurts your front court a lot. And then in the second half, LeBaron Philon goes out, and he's not able to come back in for what we find out after the game. He was dealing with full body cramps, had to get an IV in the locker room. So you're missing two of what I think are your most important players in the second half. And that's when Vanderbilt's really able to kind of make that push, hold a lead around 8, 9, 10 points for much of the second half, and it ended up being too much to overcome with the foul trouble and just everything that played into it. Alabama didn't shoot the ball particularly well, so just a really rough set of circumstances in a difficult road game against a good team. Vanderbilt's really good. They're undefeated for a reason. They just kind of proved themselves to a lot of people, I think, with that win over Alabama last night. But I think that's how it goes in SEC play. Road wins are hard to come by, and they didn't get that one.
Do we really feel like we know what this team looks like when it's at its best and kind of fully healthy? Because there have been so many injuries, so many different players at different times this season. But just what do you feel like is this team's potential if fully healthy?
That's a good question. I don't know if we do know what it like for real looks like. We've seen them play some really good games. I thought they played well against Kentucky on Saturday, but they did that without Aiden Sherrill for most of the game, and they did that with some other players banged up. Amari Allen was playing through a little minor ankle sprain in that one. I thought they played well early in the season against Illinois and St. John's and picked up some big wins in non-conference play. Got some blowout wins out in Vegas. So those were all good performances, but we really haven't seen this team, I think, play to its full potential with everybody healthy. I think that's exciting if you're an Alabama fan because you've seen this team get off to an 11-4 start. They're one of the favorites in the SEC. That title race just took a little bit of a hit last night with the loss to Vanderbilt, but it's still really early. I think as these guys continue to get healthier, and they need to get healthier, and they continue to just play and get more reps together, you're going to see a version of this team that can be really good because they've already been, I think, a pretty like established as a top 15-ish team in the country. And there are a lot of good teams in college basketball this year. The offense has been one of the best in the country. Offensive efficiency, I think, is sitting at number 2, and that's without being fully healthy. They put up 90 points last night without having Philon for half the game and shooting 23% from 3. So that just shows you how potent this offense can be. I think they have the potential to be solid defensively. I think there's a high ceiling on this team. I think they can make a run here in the SEC. I think they can make a run in March. Just a lot of it's going to be coming down to getting and staying healthy and getting those reps together throughout the course of this SEC season.
And as we go through the next few weeks and months, how critical are these freshmen for this team, looking at London Jemison and Amari Allen?
Oh, they're huge. I think Amari Allen's one of the most important players on this team easily. Nate Oates talked about it after the Kentucky game. Losing Mo Diabate to the transfer portal, he was a fan favorite for the 2 years he was at Alabama just because of the hustle and the toughness and the energy he brought night in and night out. Amari Allen has been that, and he's also been a guy who can score 20 points on any given night. He's a guy that can fill the box score with assists. He's a good defender. He's 6'8" and can play a little point forward. Like, he can really do everything. So he's incredibly important to this team, and just the way that he's played, the maturity, the poise that he's played with as a freshman is really impressive to me. I think he's a guy who Alabama needs to have on the floor as much as they can. He needs to spend minimal minutes on the bench. He's moved into the starting lineup. I don't think that's going to change. I think he'll be there for the remainder of the season, and he's earned that. He's playing 30 minutes a game as a freshman because he has the trust of his coaching staff. He shoots the ball at a high level. He can get downhill and finish at a high level. He got to the free throw line 12 times last night and made all 12. I mean, for a freshman in a top 15 game last night, to have your best player go out and then he goes and has 25, 11, and 4 is just an incredible performance. I think he's well on the way probably to declaring for the NBA draft at the end of the season with the way he's performed. And London Jemison, like you said, has really come on lately. I mean, he's a 6'8" versatile forward. He had 11 rebounds last night. He plays with a lot of high energy that Alabama needs off the bench. And just his length, he can do things defensively that not a lot of other players can do. He didn't shoot it well last night against Vanderbilt, but he's a capable shooter, as we've seen. I think he was 36, 37% coming into last night. So he's another capable guy that Alabama has off the bench. And these are two freshman wings that are positions of need that can kind of, when one's off, like when Amari Allen's off, London can kind of play that toughness, hustle player, defender role that he does. Both of those guys are incredibly important to this team, and I'm really impressed just with how they've come along as true freshmen in the system.
Next up for Alabama, a home matchup on Saturday night against Texas. What are you keeping your eye on in that matchup and as we get ready for that game?
Yeah, Texas hasn't gotten off to the best start this season. They're 0-2 in SEC play. They just lost in the midweek at home in overtime to Mississippi State. I don't think they've been great defensively. This feels like a bounce back spot for Alabama. Usually you would think that going home after a loss. I think this is a team that Alabama should be able to handle if they show up and handle their business the way that they're supposed to. One thing I am watching is I want to see Latrell Wrightsell get going because he's a guy who has been a great shooter his entire career. I think he's a 37% shooter for his career. He's over 40% for his career at Alabama the last 3 years, but he's really struggled this year coming off that Achilles tear last season. I think he's a guy who's important to get going, and I think this is a game where he possibly can. So if there's one guy I'm keeping an eye on, I want to see Latrell Wrightsell have a good shooting game, and I think he could on Saturday.
Well, it's been quite a week switching over to football, keeping up with everybody that's maybe in the transfer portal, deciding to stay at Alabama, declaring for the NFL draft. Just what are a couple things that are some really good news for Crimson Tide fans, and maybe a couple things that were some tough surprises that we've seen just with some of the roster transactions, you can call them, over this past
Yeah.
week?
I'll do bad news first and save the good news for the end. I think you're losing some guys who have played a good number of snaps and have been good pieces, like a James Smith, a starter on the defensive line. Quay Russaw has played a lot of games for Alabama over his career. Losing guys like that is unfortunate. I don't think they're detrimental losses necessarily. I think they would have been really good to have next season, and that hurts. But on the positive side, the way that this staff is using the transfer portal right now, they're filling needs, and they're filling needs with experienced players. The run game struggled all season, so they go out and get Hollywood Smothers from NC State, who was the leading rusher in the ACC this past year. All three of your main inside linebackers, Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, Nikai Hill-Green, they're all graduating, so you go get Caleb Woodson, who started a ton of games at Virginia Tech and is going to be on his last year of eligibility. You lose guys on the defensive line. LT Overton's graduating, Tim Keenan's graduating, James Smith is transferring. You go and get Devin Tompkins, an experienced defensive end from USC. So I think the way they're using the portal is the way they need to. They have a lot of young talent that is going to be returning. Michael Carroll has announced he's returning, Latiot Brooks, Ryan Williams, guys like that. But you're using the portal to fill in experienced needs and just plug those holes. So I think they're using the portal well. I think they're in line to get a couple of other guys that are going to fill needs, and I think that's encouraging. But as far as the portal goes in this season, I just always encourage people to wait until we see the full picture and wait and see what the roster looks like before we make all of our sweeping judgments. Because it's easy to see a bunch of players leaving at once and think that everything's bad, and then you get a couple players. Just wait and see what the roster looks like, and then make your assessments from there.
It's really good advice, especially when we look at the quarterback position. Ty Simpson announcing he's declaring for the NFL draft. Two talented players in that room currently in Austin Mack, who we got to see at the end of the Rose Bowl, and then freshman Keelan Russell. It's going to be interesting to see what that room looks like once we even get to spring football and then afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It's going to be a good battle between those two guys. I think what's fun is now entering the third year under Kalen DeBoer. This is going to be the first time he's had a quarterback that he's recruited. He recruited Austin Mack back at Washington, and he redshirted for him a year there before transferring with him after he took the Alabama job. And then, of course, Keelan Russell is one of the highest rated recruits in Alabama history, and was really handpicked by DeBoer and this staff to be a quarterback that can run this offense. So I feel like through 2 years, we haven't necessarily seen what the Kalen DeBoer offense looks like. The offense has had its fair share of struggles at the end of both of these seasons. But it'll be interesting to see, one, who wins this quarterback job, and then having a quarterback that is really handpicked by DeBoer and is recruited by him to fit this system. I think it'll be interesting to see what the offense in 2026 ultimately ends up looking like, regardless of who's under center between those two guys.
Blake Byler covers, of course, Alabama football and basketball for BamaOnline. Blake, just thank you for the time and the insights you've given us today. We look forward to seeing Coleman Coliseum this weekend and down the road. But thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Roger.
What's up? I'm Deontay Lawson, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Appreciate the time of Blake Byler, and now we turn our attention back to women's basketball. Final preview of tonight, Alabama against Kentucky in a top 25 showdown at Coleman Coliseum. We're joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Christy Curry, to get her thoughts before the Crimson Tide host the Kentucky Wildcats.
Coach, Roll Tide, it's great to see you, especially after a strong win against Arkansas. What'd you like most about Sunday inside Coleman Coliseum?
Yeah, I thought we really set the tone on the defensive end. Anytime you can hold an SEC opponent under 50 points says a lot about, your ability to go out and execute the game plan and, get your defense set and make them try and beat you in the half court. Transition defense was critical against Arkansas, as it will be against Kentucky as well.
We're looking forward to that. And also, Tamia Scott, a tremendous start to this ball game, and she kept it really going all throughout, getting 16 points. What'd you like most about her game?
Yeah, she shot the ball with tremendous confidence. I see it day in and day out in practice, and you're going to need her to continue that. She puts a lot of work in, and I think she's really starting to come into her own. So it's going to be critical for our team We've got to knock down open shots. That cures a lot when you can make open shots.
And we mentioned Tamia making that transition, playing here at a high level at Alabama. What'd you like most about her when you saw her come available in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, just her ability, to step in and can shoot the basketball. I think with, those needs in the portal, it was important that we find some more shooters, having lost who we lost. And, I've had a chance to watch her in the summers and watch her progress there at Middle Tennessee. And, she's a tremendous character, tremendous family. And, I know that she was wanting to be challenged at this level, and she's done a really nice job of fitting into our culture. I think it's not just the player. I think as you make decisions in the portal, it's got to be about people too. And she's been a really good people fit for us.
Culture was really on display on Sunday, alumni weekend for this program. How meaningful was that, getting to see so many familiar faces, not just from your time as head coach for Alabama, but spanning back decades, getting to be recognized?
Yeah, it was just great to have so many alums back in the house. Just it was great to see Coach Moody and Sandra. So many, passed, and we've had some recent players that were there as well. So it's always fun. We can get everybody in the same building. It's a very, very proud past here, and we're just continuing to try to carry on the tradition for them.
I know you're really proud of so many of the players you've coached here at Alabama, but one in particular was recognized during Sunday's game. Shakira Wade is our warrior of the game. For what she's doing for this country, you got to be amazed and really proud.
Yeah, Shakira was a phenomenal student athlete, left here with her undergrad degree and, went right into the Air Force and has continued to play on their team. It's been really special to watch her evolution in her career. She was stationed over in the United Kingdom. Now she's back stationed up in Arkansas. And, just really proud of her and what a career she has having, in the military. It's a phenomenal opportunity for her.
Absolutely. Well, now we turn the page to tonight's opponent, the Kentucky Wildcats. So when you watch them on film, what stands out?
Just their size, they're phenomenally talented. They have a great backcourt. They've had some transfers as well that have come in and filled the void. And, Claire Strack's one of the best post players in the country. Her versatility, facing the basket, stepping out, her inside presence. I mean, she's a phenomenal shot blocker. And so it'll be a great matchup for Naomi in essence. We're excited about the opportunity tonight. It's a great, great one for us. And we need to try to get this one at home and take care of our home court.
We look forward to it. Coach, thank you for your time. All the best against Kentucky. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
We'll have more on the Crimson Tide.
Hi, I'm Carly Weathers, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Our thanks to Coach Curry. Alabama women's basketball will be our next broadcast on the network, but let's take a look at our upcoming schedule to see what's ahead for us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Later tonight, 5:45 will be the airtime for Alabama women's basketball against Kentucky. Of course, you can listen on our radio network, the Varsity Network app, as well as watch the basketball booth cam presented by NASCAR, streaming on all of our social media platforms. We'll have that up and running as well coming up on Saturday for Alabama men's basketball against Texas. 7 the tip-off, 6 o'clock the airtime. And then again, no women's game on Sunday, but Hey Coach at 6 p.m. Monday night, so with Nate Oates here in Tuscaloosa and Chris Stewart. And at the same time, we will be in Columbia, Missouri for Alabama women's basketball against the Missouri Tigers, hitting the air at 5:45. And then don't forget, next week we'll be back as well. Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR on Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central for all the latest on the Crimson Tide. Make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN so you don't miss anything, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Hit subscribe, turn those notifications on so you won't miss anything coming up from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. It's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guests, Carly Weathers, Blake Byler, and of course, Christy Curry for joining us to talk about Alabama athletics. Thanks as well to our video producer, Ethan Carabin, put this entire show together on his birthday. Happy birthday to Ethan Carabin. Roll Tide to him. He puts together all of our video programming here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, so we appreciate Ethan and his fine work once again. This is Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll see you at Coleman Coliseum this week. Roll Tide, everyone.